everything going here. Isha, let me know when you're in Hangouts. Let me know when you're over there. And we are in Twitch, and we are in Periscope, and we are in Hangouts, and we are in Pal Talk. So we're in Pal Talk, we're in Hangouts, we're in Periscope, and we're in Twitch. And by the grace of the Most High, once the upload is done from Periscope, we'll also be on Twitter as well as YouTube. So I think we pretty much got the bases covered. I think we do. So, all right. So right now we're going to go into Romans, but before we go into Romans, let me first appeal to you to seek the Father with me so that we could pray together for his Spirit to guide us in his word, that as we study his word, we might bring honor and glory to his name, and also to pray for the scattered nation of Yah's chosen people, who is a remnant that is scattered, as the word tells us, they're scattered all over the earth, who he is now awakening and preparing for the soon coming kingdom of Messiah. Thank you, Bataman. So as we are going to seek the Father for his Spirit, as we're going to pray together and pray to the Father for his Spirit, and for the scattered people, thank you, Ak. Thank you, Ox. Thank you, Isha. Is there any other prayer requests that you would like us to pray for? My Aunt Vin, the 104-year-old aunt, my Aunt Vin, she has been sent home. She was sent home yesterday. She's not still in the best of health, but the Most High has blessed her, and she is resting comfortably at her home right now with my cousins who are taking care of her. Beth, okay, Bathaman, let me just get that in here. Okay. All right. Okay, Isha. So you're really asking for conviction, right? So let me just, right? That's interesting because that's what we're going to be talking about today. Conviction. Okay, I got Cliff. All right. Earthly, Tifo, I see the word earthly. Okay, just. All right. Look up, okay. All right. All right. And did I miss anything? I got Tifo, Bathaman, Isha, prayer request. Oh, okay, Tifo. Okay. I just saw the first part, what you were saying. Okay. All right. Shabbat Shalom to all that just came in. Did I get everybody? Did I get everything that everyone wants at this time? Tifo, Bathaman, Isha. I got all of you all. Okay. That's all. Then let's get ready to pray. Shabbat Shalom, Tyra. All right, let's get ready to pray then. Most High Father, we are grateful and thankful for all that you have done for us and continue to do for us. We give you praise and thanks for your word, for health, for strength, for life, for the breath that's in our bones and breath that's in our bodies. We give you praise and honor. And as we get ready to go into your holy word today, we ask for your set apart spirit, that you would guide us in your word, that your name, Yah, and your name alone would be uplifted and honored and glorified because of your grace that is in Messiah Yahweh Shah. Please bless all of these prayer requests. Akath Tifo, Bathaman for Beth and for Tifo with her earthly father, for Isha and her spiritual conviction and growth, for Cliff. We pray also for the scattered people, your people all over this earth, your scattered nation, your children that are yours, that you know who they are. You know who they are. We pray for them that your name would be glorified in them. And pray for all of us that we might be prepared against the things that you see clearly and we also know are coming. In the name of the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, we pray. Amen. All right. All right. Praise Yah. So we have been studying Romans, and we have finished 13 chapters in the epistle or letter that Paul wrote to the Romans. 13 chapters, and what a blessing we have been getting. Praise Yah. We're going to continue our study, and as we have been studying today, as we have been doing, we're going to look at the prophets concerning Romans chapter 14, and then we'll come back and study Romans chapter 14. Let's look at first Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah or Yeshaya, chapter 30. Isaiah chapter 30. And I'm going to read in chapter 30. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 15. And actually, I'm going to read verse 15. I'm going to read verse 15. And I'm going to read down to verse 21. From verse 15 to verse 21. Notice what it says here. For thus saith the Most High Yahweh, the set apart one of Israel. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. And ye would not. But ye said, no, for we will flee upon horses. Therefore shall ye flee. And we will ride upon the swift. Therefore shall they that pursue you be swift. 1,000 shall flee at the rebuke of one. At the rebuke of 5 shall ye flee, till ye be left as a beacon upon the top of a mountain, and as an ensign on a hill. And therefore will Yahweh wait, that he may be gracious unto you. And therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For Yahweh is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. For the people shall dwell in Zion at Jerusalem. Thou shalt weep no more. He will be very gracious unto thee at the voice of thy cry. When he shall hear it, he will answer thee. And though Yahweh give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee saying, this is the way. Walk ye in it when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. These are among, especially verse 15 and 21, among my favorite verses. And the reason I say they're among my favorite verses because they're like an anchor to me, and I'll tell you why. Brothers and sisters, the thing that causes us, well, let me put it this way. Let me get back for a second. There are many people that read the Bible and take interpretations from it that they want. You understand what I'm saying? There are people that will read this set apart book and they will take interpretations from it what they want. Not necessarily what it's saying, but what they want. And let me give you an example. There are people that believe it is their quote unquote Christian duty to go to other nations and kill people for what they think is the freedom of our country, of the country of the United States. There are people that are in the military in the United States that believe it is their duty to go to other nations and sometimes kill, destroy men, women, and children for the sake of what they think is freedom. And they are very much convicted that this is proper and right. Okay, they're very much convicted. In fact, some think it is their Christian duty to keep their country free by killing other people. Now, I know to us that sounds crazy. And yet there are people that are fully convicted that this is the right thing to do. Okay? I mean, that they're honestly, sincerely convicted that this is right. So that we can see by this example that there are people that may be convicted on something, right? And they're doing the wrong thing. All right? They're convicted on it and they're doing the wrong thing. So then the question would become, how do we know that we're doing the right thing? How do we know that when we're reading the Bible, we're receiving from it that which the Creator has ordained as truth? That's a good question, isn't it? Right? How do we know that what we're believing is right and true? How do we know that when we're reading the Bible, we're interpreting it properly? How do we know that? Because there are some that will read this same Bible and say, well, you know, I could eat swine and mouse and snakes and anything. This Bible tells me I can. There are those that will read this Bible and say, well, I believe that the Baptist church is the only true church on the earth. Some will say, I believe that the Mormon church is the chosen church of God. The SDA church says they are the remnant church of Bible prophecy. And then, of course, there's the Catholics that say they are the only universal church. And then there are the Muslims that say, well, Allah only has one prophet and his name is Muhammad. That's his prophet. And Allah is the only God. So what I just stated to you in just a minute, in just 30 or 60 seconds, is different religions that all believe absolutely that they're the only truth. And if they're not the only truth, they're above any other thing that is true. Okay, is that correct? Did I just say something that understood? You guys got me there. So you guys know that's true, right? So there's Southern Baptists that believe that the Southern Baptist Church is the Most High's true church. There are Mormons that believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet, that the Most High chose him, and that they are the only true church and everybody else is not. Then there's those that Jehovah's Witnesses that believe that the books of the Watchtower are holy, and that nobody else has the truth but them. And if you need to find the truth, you need to go to them. Then the SDA church says that Ellen White was the prophet. She was the last prophet to come on this earth and the last prophet they will be. And that the Creator ordained the Seventh-day Adventist church as the remnant church of Bible prophecy. Right? And then the Muslims say, well, Allah is the only God. He has no son. He has one prophet. The last prophet was Muhammad. Unless you're of the so-called Black Muslims here in the United States that believe that Elijah Muhammad was a prophet and that Farrakhan is a prophet That's a whole different thing, but they also believe that as well. Okay. So you have all of these different religions, and each one of them is convicted that their religion is the only one. Okay. All right. So how do we know? How do we know what we believe is right? How do we know what we believe is true? How do we know? How can we find out if what we believe is true, if what we believe is right? How can we know that we're in harmony with the creator that created heaven and earth, the sea, and all things in it? How do we know that we're in harmony with him who spoke the earth into existence? How do we know? How do we know for sure? How do we know? It's a good question, isn't it? Well, the thing, brothers and sisters, first of all, I always say this. If you're not sure, there's one thing you can do. You can get on your knees, because whoever you believe the creator is, whether you believe is Allah, or whether you call him God or Lord or Jesus or Yah, whatever you believe, as far as the creator now, you understand you must give him respect. You right, no matter which one of these religions it is, right? You understand that you must give him his respect, that he is the creator, right? Whatever you want to call him, whatever you think he told you, he demands your respect. I think everybody agrees with that, right? Everybody agrees with that. So that he demands our respect, no matter what you believe. Okay. Well, then, whoever you believe in, that means that he demands your respect, you should be able to bow to him. You should be able to bow to him. And you should be able to ask him to show you what his truth is. Is that correct? You should be able to ask him to show you what his truth is. See, I do this quite often. I try to do it almost every day, but I know I do it many times. I may not say the same thing every day, but I definitely do it very often, at least every couple of days, at least very conservatively, if not every day. Because brothers and sisters, I always want to make sure that I am following the truth that the creator wants me to follow. And he can send me his spirit to convict me. And even if I don't believe in his spirit, there's some people who don't even believe in spirit. But if you ask him, should I believe in spirit? If you ask him, I want you to show me your truth, he will know how to reach you so that you will plainly see what he wants you to believe. Do you understand? Testing. Okay. Got me? All right. So that there's a lot of people, and I've met them. I mean, the majority of people that I have met, and you tell me if this is your experience, okay? Tell me if this is your experience. The majority of people that I have met, whatever religion they follow, are following that religion based on what somebody told them, right? They're following that religion based on what somebody told them or based on what their family was into, okay? Or based on some older person or somebody they respected showed them, right? And while that is not, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't make sure that you're following the truth. That's not the surety. The surety is if the creator himself convicts you, if the creator himself shows you where you have to go, then that's where you should go. Okay? Everybody got me? So, and you know what? What he does, and tell me if this is your experience, because I try to speak in terms of what we all have experienced so that I'm not saying anything foreign to you, all right? So that anybody that's listening to me can relate to what I'm saying. So tell me this. So like, I remember when I was 20 years old, 21. And I was being convicted that we were at the end of the world, that this was the end of the world, that things were happening that was showing me the end of the world. And I remember when I was 11, 12, 10, and my grandmother would tell me about things about the end of the world, about what the Bible said about the end of the world. And I remember reading, and I started to look in my Bible, and I started reading, especially Matthew 24, because I remember she showed me out of Matthew 24, a lot of these, and I remember wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, and I'm seeing these things, and I'm starting to be convicted. This is a word. I started to be convicted that we was at the end. So I called my grandmother. At the time I'm living in New York City, she's living in Tennessee. I called her in Tennessee and I said, Grandma, this and this. She said, yep, it's the end. And I said, Grandma, I should go to church because that's what I have been taught, right? That's what I've been taught. I've been taught. She used to pick us up. My parents weren't very religious. They were spiritual, but not religious. You know what I'm saying? So she would pick us up every once in a while, and take us to church on Saturday to the SDA church. And since, I would go, we were little kids all the way up. And then when my parents were going through their stuff about to get divorced, they sent me and my brother to go live with my aunts. The one that's 104 years old now, with her and my grandmother in Florida. They're from Jamaica. They moved to Florida and we went there to live with them for a couple of years. And they taught us, the Bible, and we memorized verses, and they taught us to go to church. So that now when I left them, I was 13 years old. And when I came back to live with my father, my brother and I staying with my father, I was convicted that I should go to church, that I should follow the Bible, I should keep the Sabbath. And I did it for a while. My father didn't believe in it. I did it for a while, but then I got discouraged and stopped and decided to taste and see what the world was like. But then when I got to be 21, I was convicted again. And I called my grandmother and she told me what church to go to. So I went to this SDA church in Harlem. Okay. Because I was convicted that I should go there. All right. I was convicted. And there I met my wife, who was also convicted. We were both convicted that the Seventh-day Adventist Church was the only true church. We were both convicted of that. You understand? We were there because we were convicted. We believed it was truth. Right? Now, over time, we both started to see things in the church that bothered us. Okay, we saw pastors committing adultery. We saw Catholic doctrines coming into the SDA church. We saw them focusing on books that weren't the Bible, and we didn't feel right about these things. And there were other things that we saw that just didn't sit right with us. So then I was convicted over time that I still was convicted that the doctrines of the SDA church were true, but I was convicted that they weren't following their own doctrines. So then the next step was, over the time, I came to the point where I couldn't go back into the denomination, to their buildings, because they weren't following the things that I thought were true, that they had actually taught were true. They weren't even following them anymore. So we started doing what we call home churching. We were convicted that we needed to home church. Okay? We were still members of the SDA church, but we home churched. Okay? While we were home churching, I was at that time at odds with the organization of the SDA church, because I started not only seeing things I didn't think were true, but I started finding them teaching things that weren't true. For example, you cannot overcome sin. This was a big one for me. You could not overcome sin in this life. That bothered me, because I was convicted that the spirit of what I called Jesus at that time, of the Holy Spirit, I called at that time, was greater than the spirit of Asatan. So if the spirit of the Father is greater than the spirit of Asatan, and I can't overcome sin, then what I'm saying is Asatan's spirit is stronger than the Father's spirit. And if there was a Father and he had a spirit, he should be able to overcome sin. That's the way I thought. And as I studied the Bible, I found that the verses I was finding confirm my conviction. When I brought my conviction to the leaders of the SDA church, they said, we don't believe that. We never taught that. Our pioneers never taught that. We don't believe that. That was one of the things that was bothering me. So then the people, the church was basically concerned that the doctrines that I was teaching in terms of grace and overcoming sin were basically so at odds with what they wanted to teach that they disfellowshipped me from that church. And I was fine with that because actually their conference president told me that, we're going to have to part ways because we obviously don't believe the same thing. And I said to him back, I said, you know what, you're probably right, because I don't think I can be a Seventh-day Adventist and believe the things that you're saying and go against my conviction, because I was convicted. You understand? I was convicted. The Spirit was convicting me about what I was reading. And it was opposite of what they were teaching. Not only that, they have these things they call quarterlies, Sabbath school quarterlies. If you're in SDA, you know it because they have the same thing in all the churches. It's a thing where every week you read these little lessons, and then when you come to church, you go over what you read that week. And during the course of time, the quarterlies were having more and more quotations from people that didn't even believe in keeping the commandments, people that kept Sunday. And I didn't understand that. I said, if we're keeping the commandments, why are we following all of these teachings out of our quarterly that were from quotation from people that kept Sunday, that didn't even believe what we believe? Well, that didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand it. And there was less and less Bible and more quotations from these writers, including Ellen White, more of that and less Bible. The only Bible they would quote after a while was whatever Ellen White said. And that bothered me. I was convicted that there was something wrong with that. I was convicted. So after they disfellowshipped me, what I decided to do, because honestly, I felt free. When they disfellowshipped me, I felt like, because you know why? Because of this verse here, and that we just read in Isaiah chapter 30, when it said, in returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. What does that mean? Returning is another word for repentance. In other words, for me repenting of whatever my sin is and trusting the Most High, He's going to show me which way to go. You got me? So when I would get on my knees with all that turmoil and I had people calling me, I'm telling you, one of the greatest gossip houses in the whole world is the SDA church. There's no question about it. People were gossiping and calling me. I heard this and I heard that and I heard you did this and I heard that. And so sometimes some of the people were real close to me, people I had eaten dinner with, people that I would fellowship with, people I had Bible studies with. And so I was concerned that they were saying these things about me. Now, what I would do, I would get on my knees. I didn't call anybody. I'll get on my knees and call on the Most High. And I would say, forgive me of my sin. I would trust you to guide me. And then I would go to the same chapter, to verse 21. And it would say here, thine ear shall hear a word behind thee saying, this is the way, walk ye in it when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. What does that mean? That means if you're going in the wrong way and you're asking the Creator to put you in the right way, He's going to show you. He's going to show you. I can 100% testify. He's going to show you what the right way is. If you ask Him, He's going to show you. See, don't listen to man. Listen to the Spirit of the Father. You hearing what I'm saying? Because at that time, that's what I was doing. I was calling on the Father and I'm listening for His Spirit. Because I had enough experience with His Spirit to know His Spirit could talk to me, to know He can show me which way to go. One time in my life, my wife, my family, and I were being thrown out of a house. And we didn't know where to go. And I was praying because, we had no idea where to go. We were leaving New Hampshire. We didn't know where to go. And it was pressure on us because it was SDAs that were doing this to us. We had this house that they promised to give me. They changed their mind when I decided I didn't want to be SDA anymore. And they had sheriffs come and they were throwing us out of the house, literally. And the week before, I had sent my wife and my children from New Hampshire to go to stay with my mother in Los Angeles. And they were there. And I was trying to pack our stuff and send it into storage. And the people said, and then what happened, I was praying. I didn't know which way to go. And my wife had a friend in Georgia. And they had a house and they had a guest house. And they had offered that guest house to us. They said, you can stay here in the guest house. Come down here to Georgia. But I felt clearly the Most High saying, no, don't go there. And at that time, I was doubtful whether that was me or whether that was him. And then I got a call from a man I had just met. Just met this man. Just met him maybe 4 months before that. And he said, yo, what you doing, man? And I told him the situation. I said, man, we moving from New Hampshire. He said, where you going? I said, I don't know. He said to me, man, it sure be nice if you came to Northern Virginia. That's what he said. And I felt the Spirit say, that's where you go. But I said to him, I said, I don't know nobody in Northern Virginia. He said, you know me? I had just met him. He said, you know me? He said, you could come stay in our house. Stay right here with us until you find you a place. Nope, wasn't him. Wasn't him. In fact, he was still in New Hampshire when we left. Wasn't him. So I called my wife, and my wife said to me, your mother's driving us crazy. She about to throw us out her house. She said, please go to Virginia and get a place. And in fact, let me back up for a second. Right before I sent them to Los Angeles to stay with her, we had a family meeting. It was me, my wife, and 3 of my kids sitting around the table. And I said, where should we go? Should we go to Georgia with mommy's friend? Should we go to... And my kids and my wife said, Virginia. They said Virginia. And after that, I got the call from the guy that said, come to Virginia. He didn't even know that we had the meeting. So now I knew I should go to Virginia. Didn't know nothing about Virginia. Never been to Virginia. Didn't know. We drove through it when I was a little kid. That's all. I didn't know nothing about it. So my wife calls me up. She said, go to Virginia, find us a place. Brethren, I ain't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of, but I ended up in Virginia, and that's where I was supposed to be. And it was because of the conviction of the Most High that he sent me here. Okay? Because I asked him which way I should go. So when you trust the Father, you trust the Creator. And I call him the Creator because, see, I myself was raised in a sense in the ways of the SDA church. So I was convicted to go there. But then the Most High just used that place as part of my path. You understand? It was part of the path. And this is one of my favorite verses here, Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18. Proverbs 4, 18. And this is the thing. I asked him even about his word, and he convicted me. This is my word. Trust my word, and you will not go wrong. Trust my word. Okay? So Proverbs 4:18, but the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. What that spoke to me, it said to me, you're on a journey, brother. You're on a journey. And as long as you seek the path of the just, you're going to continue to learn and grow in my spirit. And what does it mean to be just? That's another way of saying righteous. And I'm not saying I'm righteous, but I want the path of the righteous. You hear what I'm saying? I want the path of the righteous. And the Bible says God is light and in him is no darkness at all. So I thought, okay, if I keep seeking him, he's going to guide me in the way I should go. You understand? He's not going to lead me astray. So he guided me and my wife. My wife was a Catholic. She was raised a Catholic, guided both of us into the SDA church, then guided us out when it was time, guided us out. And I started at that point when I was no longer in SDA and I came to Virginia, I started asking the Most High about everything that I had been taught as an SDA. I mean, I went through all the doctrines and I wanted to substantiate everything I read from the Bible. And I came to the conclusion, if it's not in the Bible, I don't want it. Because brothers and sisters, I felt like if I'm following the light from the Creator, I need to just follow that light. I can't go by what my grandmother taught me. I can't go by what my elders taught me. I can't go by what people have said to me. I got to go by what my conviction is from his spirit and his word. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you following me? By what my conviction is. My conviction. I couldn't go by your conviction. I couldn't go by my wife's conviction. I couldn't go by my friend's conviction. It had to be my conviction. And I had to trust the Creator because I had to be sincere in my desire to please him. Okay? Everybody testing? Everybody got me so far? You understand what I'm saying so far? Anything confusion? Okay, good. The path of the just is as the shining light. And then so I depended on him. I depended on him. Then the day came when I was in Virginia. And this shocked my wife and my kids. When the Most High convicted me, his spirit, I heard his spirit talking to me. What is your salvation based on? Son, what is your salvation based on? Do you have salvation? And I was convicted. And I answered the Most High in my spirit. My salvation is based on the Messiah's righteousness. My salvation is based in him. So what? Then the voice came back to me. What do you need with a church then? What do you need with a denomination then? If your salvation is based in my son, what you need with denomination? What he was telling me, I didn't need to be an SDA anymore. And I kept this. It was shocking to me. And I kept it to myself for a little while. And then finally, one day, I forgot what the circumstances was, but at family worship, I broke it out to my wife and kids. So I'm not calling myself a Seventh-day Adventist anymore. It was like, Daddy, you have to be a Seventh-day Adventist. You have to be. We've all been Seventh-day Adventists. That's what they kept saying. We've always been Seventh-day Adventists. And they were right. We had been. But I was no longer convicted. Are you following? I was no longer convicted about that. In fact, I was convinced to not be, to put my trust in the word and in Messiah alone. That's the way I did. I was convicted. And the reason, not only was I convicted, brothers and sisters, when you follow your conviction, right, there, honestly, you might be a little scared because it might go against everything you've been taught, but there's a safety in it. See, I'm really into safety. Whenever I had my family live somewhere, it was because I wanted my children safe. When we lived in some desolate places. I mean, we lived in country places where none of our friends could find us. And it wasn't I was trying to hide from my friends. I wanted places that were safe. That was my thing. And so whenever I followed the conviction of the Father's Spirit, I felt safe. Because then I knew, see, as long as I know I'm sincere in my heart, I have no ulterior motives. I'm not trying to start my own church. I'm not trying to get a bunch of money. I'm not trying to do wrong. I want to do what's right. And I want to please the Creator. As long as I was convicted that was the case, I felt safe. So I was mostly a little nervous to tell my family I wasn't going to be SDA anymore, but it wasn't because I just knew it was going to shock them. It was going to shock them. Okay. But I was convicted. So then I was invited to preach. And I started preaching that. I would say Christ and his word alone. Never mind your church. And people didn't like that. People didn't like that. People got upset about that. But I found that message separated people that were sincere, though. So that sincere people would step forward and want to get baptized from that message. And it wasn't me. It was the message of Christ and his word alone by the conviction of his spirit alone. And I would speak it with strong conviction. Y'all who have come to this room, who have heard me on this microphone, you've heard me speak with conviction and your spirit knows it. You know what I'm saying, right? When I'm speaking with conviction is because I believe it. With everything in my being, I believe it. When I was at SDA, I was all in. I was all in. Ellen White, Bible, Sabbath. I was all in when I was there. But as my conviction was turned, the Spirit showed me a path, showed me where I was going wrong. This is the way, walk ye in. Then I had to go where he said me go. See, it's not about a church, man. It's not about a denomination. It's not about any other person. And then as I continued to seek the path of the just and righteous, which is the path of Messiah, his grace. Messiah showed me, what about your father? What about your father? Do you know your father? Do you know him? Have you ever sought him out? See, I've been talking about white Jesus a long time, and I have been ignoring the Father. I really have. And I didn't want to call him God. It seemed too cheap. Honestly, it seemed too cheap. Then my favorite book, my wife will tell you, from the time we were married, It was 35 years ago. She will tell you, even before I met her, my favorite book in the whole Bible has always been Deuteronomy. Always been. Right? Always been my favorite book. And I always loved Deuteronomy 28 because of the promises. I always loved to read those promises in Deuteronomy 28. But I would always stop short. I was very hesitant to read the curses because I said, I'm going to follow the Most High truth. I don't need to worry about them curses. But now I was convicted. Read the whole thing and look at the curses. And as I read them curses, I started to think, that does not fit them Caucasian people that they call Jews. I said, it doesn't fit him. That doesn't fit them. That fits us. I said, that fits me, my people. That fits the people I just come from in Harlem. That fits them. And then I started studying it more and more. And I was convicted. Then I looked on YouTube and I saw some other brothers that believed the same thing. And now I'm really excited. My wife thought I had lost my mind. But I said to her, this Bible is our history book. This is all about us. And I was so excited. It hit me like a light bulb. And now people, my wife was concerned. People that have been listening to this ministry for a long time were concerned, very concerned. Close friends of mine said, oh man, I think he's lost it now. He's thinking he's an Israelite. So that, again, because my friends and my family thought that I had maybe went off the deep end, what I do? I get back on my knees and I say, Father, you promised me that I would hear a word behind me saying, this is the way. Walk ye in it when I turn to the right or when I turn to the left. So if I'm going off the path, please bring me back. I don't want to go off the path. And I told him, look, listen, man, if the Catholic Church was the true church, I'd be a Catholic. If Islam was the true religion, I'd be a Muslim. Okay? If Farrakhan was a true prophet, I'd be right there in Chicago with him. I just want to please the Creator. But he showed me, no, you're going the right path. You're going the way you should go. Never mind what everybody's saying. Follow the Spirit, my conviction. And I felt safe. I felt safe. Why? Because I was being sincere. I was being honest. I wasn't trying to please men. You see what the Apostle Paul said? Notice what he said. He said this many times, but the one that's coming to my mind right now is Galatians chapter 1. Galatians chapter 1. Notice Galatians chapter 1. Galatians chapter 1. I want you to notice Galatians 1 from verse 7 down to verse 12. Galatians 1, 7 to 12. Notice what it says. Which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Messiah. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that ye have received, let him be accursed. For do I now persuade men or Yah? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Messiah. But I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after man. For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by revelation of Messiah, Yahushua. And that's the way I feel about it. Conviction is a revelation of the Messiah. He sends the conviction because Father has given him the power of Father's Spirit to send to whoever he will. He said that. And so when you are convicted from the Father's Spirit, Messiah is sending that. And it's a revelation that he is shown. And so he was telling me, don't listen to man. Don't worry about man. Listen to my spirit. Because I seek to give honor to the Father. See, now Messiah introduced me to the Father. So I seek to give honor to the Father. That's all I care about. I don't care about nothing else. Oh, I might act a fool once in a while. He knows that. He knows that. But at the end of the day, I come back to him and I seek to please him. always. So I follow conviction. And if I'm ever confused, I mean, seriously, brothers and sisters, when I need to understand something from the Bible, I go to him and say, Father, this verse I don't understand. Father, can you please help me, Father? And brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, he'll show me. And I praise him and he shows me. It's not me being smart. It's him convicting me. So what am I saying to you? You don't have to listen to me. Listen to the conviction of the Father's Spirit. Ask him if the way you're walking is the way you should go. And wait for his answer. 100% of the time, he will show you. If you're sincere and you want to do what pleases him, he will show you. 100% of the time, without fail, he will show you. Okay? And it might be something opposite from everybody else around you. It might be something opposite than you have been taught. Do you know my great-grandfather in Jamaica was baptized into the SDA church in 1915. 1915, might even before that even. I think he was baptized before that even. Before even, he was baptized in the early 20th, late 19th century, something like that. My great-grandfather. And then he raised his 7 children, among whom was my grandmother, all of them baptized in the Seventh-day Adventist church. And then my grandmother had my mother. She was baptized in the Seventh-day Adventist church. Then my mother had me. I was baptized in the Seventh-day Adventist church, going back over 100 years. Over 100 years. So I had to be convicted. You understand? I had to be convicted. I mean, seriously, I know for a fact my great-grandfather was baptized when Ellen White was still alive, who the SDAs revere. She was still alive when my great-grandfather was baptized. Had all his household keeping the Sabbath. All of them. And in Jamaica, they don't play. They don't play. He wasn't playing. He was serious. So I could not rely on my tradition of my family, my great-grandfather. I could not rely on elders I trusted. I could not rely on anything, even my own feelings. I could only rely on the word of the Most High and the conviction of his Spirit on me. And my desire to please the Creator, not to please myself, not to please men, but to please the Creator. And it went against everything my family believes. It went against my conviction have sent me in directions that have caused people to think I have lost my mind. See? But I've always felt safe as long as I'm following my conviction to please the Creator, to please him, to serve him. Okay? Always felt safe. And obviously now, as now I'm looking back, I can say there are things I used to believe that I don't believe anymore. There are things I used to follow that I don't follow anymore. Why? Because the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. See, I'm farther down the path than I was before. And that's one of the things I noticed about a lot of the people I used to know in churches, but not just the SDA church, but I met people from Jehovah's Witness and from Mormon. And what I've noticed that they have in common, in Baptists, what I noticed they have in common is they don't grow in the spirit of knowledge of the Creator. Like whatever they knew 20 years ago is the same thing they know now, and they don't know anything else. Like they haven't learned anything. They haven't developed in the spirit. I didn't want that. I didn't want to just be marking time in a church and not growing. Now, you see, if the creator is infinite, and that's what the Bible says. Notice what it says here, Psalm 147. Psalm 147. Psalm 147. Psalm 147, verses 4 and 5. Psalm 147, verses 4 and 5. Notice what it says, Psalm 147, verses 4 and 5. He telleth the number of the stars. He calleth them all by their names. Great is Yahweh, and of great power. His understanding is infinite. This is deep to me. This always hit me because, like, I would look in the sky and see all the stars. You know, if you're in the country somewhere, if you're in the city, you can't see them all the way you can see them if you're in the country, right? When you're in the country, away from the lights of the city, you can see the stars, right? And you see them innumerable. And the Bible is telling us that he has a name, a different name for each one. A different name for each one. And that his understanding is infinite. There's no end to it. So I thought, if that's the case, then he should be always showing me something new. I should always be growing in understanding of him and understanding of his creation, of his truth, of his righteousness. I should be growing. I shouldn't be where I was 10 years ago. I should be further down the line. And I never understood until I left the SDA church, until I came into this truth of who I really am, why that was. I never understood. But you see, brothers and sisters, when you're in man-made institutions, you're only going to grow as high as the man-made institution. You understand? You're never going to grow past that. If you're in a man-made religion, you're never going to grow past what your elder taught you. You're never going to grow past it. The object is to grow up into the creator, to tap into what is infinite. He calls the number of the stars by name. Do you know when we get to the kingdom, each of us is going to have a unique name? Unique to us. All of us. Nobody, there's not going to be two Johns, two Michaels, two Alis. No. All of us going to have a unique name, just like the stars. How could he do that? His understanding is infinite. In this same song, later on, see that that was my impression from like 25, 30 years ago. But then as I got more learning from the Most High and his Spirit, I noticed the end of this song. Notice verse in the same Psalm 147, verse 19 and 20. Verse 19 and 20, notice what it says. Psalm 147, verse 19 and 20. Notice what it says. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise Yahweh. Now I was like, oh man. See, I'm convicted. He only chose one people. He didn't choose a whole bunch of people. He chose one people. The children of Jacob are his chosen people. Okay. And then I was convicted. If we're going to learn the word, we're going to learn it from the children of Jacob. Because the rest of the nations haven't known it. He hadn't given it to them. And then as you saw, when we read the covenant, he said, when he starts the covenant, he says it like this. I am Yahweh, your most high, that brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He's talking to a specific people about a specific situation. He's not talking to everybody when he says that. He says, I have brought you. Who is you? It's this people that he brought out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. It's not everybody. It's not everybody. I was convicted. I said, oh, shoot. I never caught that before. I never caught that before. And then those people that he talked to, what did he say? I'm going to scatter you all over the earth. I'm scattering you all over the earth. Why? Because as his chosen people, when we are scattered and we are starting to return and awaken, we are going to be able to teach people all over the earth. Because why? He ordained us to do that. We didn't ordain ourselves to do that. He ordained us to do that. He said, I'll make you a nation of priests and ministers. The other nations don't know. He said, all the gods of the nations are idols. Yahweh made the heavens. See, so I was convicted. Now, see, I'm convicted. And many other things. But it all starts with me coming to the Creator and saying, am I walking in the right way? Am I walking in the path of righteousness? Am I walking the way you would have me walk? Am I doing what you would have me do? Even when it came to his name, I wanted to know how to say his name. As I'm being convicted, I say, okay, I got to say his name. Some people say Yahweh. Some people say Yahuwah. Some people say Yahweh Hawashai or Yahweh. And I wanted to find out how to say his name. What did I do? I prayed. How should I call you? How should I address you? And he convicted me, Yahweh. And he convicted me of the Messiah, Yahushua. I studied it out for myself. Now, I'm not saying my conviction is yours. You might call him Yahweh, and you might call his son Yeshua. You might call him Yahuwah, and you might call his son Yahushua. You might do that. Or you might be way back where we were, and you still calling them Jesus and God. You might. Hopefully you've gotten past that, but you might. Okay? But the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more into the perfect day. It's a path. It's a path. And not all of us are at the same place on the path. But the key thing is all of his people are on the path. Not all the people of the earth are on the path. All of his people are on the path. How do I know that? Because his people are seeking the path of the righteous, the path of the just, the path of truth, the path that pleases him. All his people are doing that. You understand? All his people are doing that. You understand? But only his people are doing that. So you want to know? Here's my conviction. Let me share my conviction with you. You want to know if you walk in the right way? You want to know if what you're believing is true? Ask your Creator and trust him when he shows you. Trust him. Don't trust traditions. Don't trust what people have told you. Don't trust what people demand of you. Trust the conviction of his Spirit as he shows you. This has got to be personal. You understand? It's got to be personal. When I'm convicted of something, I have learned. I've made lots of mistakes in my life with my family. I know that. But one thing I don't do. When I'm convicted of something, I don't force everybody in my household to follow that. I don't. I'm convicted. And I let them follow their convictions. Now, generally speaking, they will end up following what I'm doing because they want to do the right thing as well. Okay, they want to do the right thing as well. But that's the object. To please the Creator, to walk in his ways, to walk in his Spirit. Not in traditions of men, not to please men, to please the Creator. And many times, brothers and sisters, let me ask you, when Messiah walked the earth, did he please people? Did he please the leaders? Did he please the brothers and sisters that were his bloodline relatives? Did he please them when he walked the earth? No, he did not. They hated him. They hated him. And the prophets, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, did they please the brothers and sisters of the nation? Were the nation pleased with them? Were they revered for the words they would be convicted to speak? No, they weren't. They were hated, beaten. So no, we don't look to please men. We look to please the Creator. And I believe if you are sincere, if I'm sincere and follow in sincerity of heart, the apostle writes at the end of one of his epistles, blessed are all those that follow the truth in sincerity. If you are really wanting to honor the Creator, he's going to make sure he shows you how he wants you to do it. He's going to make sure that, but brothers and sisters, it must be personal to you. You must not be afraid to follow what he's convicting you to follow. Because I can tell you right now, it's going to go against most of the people you know. It's going to go against most of the people you have known, your family, your friends, the people that have known you. It's going to be something they're going to think you're crazy. But then again, you're not alone. They thought John the Baptist was crazy. They thought Jeremiah was crazy. They thought the Messiah was crazy. They thought the Apostle Paul was crazy. They thought Noah was crazy. They thought Abraham was crazy, leaving his family and going into the desert. They thought Moses was crazy, leaving the courts of royalty with Egypt and joining a whole bunch of poor, ignorant people that were the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They thought he was crazy. Okay? But I suggest we follow conviction. I am convicted that I have been appointed a teacher. I don't force anybody to listen to me. I don't ask for nobody's money. Y'all know that. And I believe I must be faithful to the trust that was been given to me. Must be. And I should be struck down. I should be paying the penalty of eternal death if I don't. As the apostle says, woe unto me. Because I know what I've been convicted to do and by whom I was convicted. So now you go to Romans chapter 14. Let's go to Romans chapter 14. Actually, before on our way there, while we're going through the neighborhood, I'm going to stop in the Gospel of John for a second, just to continue on this point as we're going through the neighborhood on our way to Romans from the Old Testament. Let's stop in the Gospel of John, chapter 16. Gospel of John, chapter 16. I'm going to stop here on my way to Romans chapter 14, which is really what we're studying today. Gospel of John, chapter 16. Let's read. I'm going to read from verse 1. I'm going to read down a bit, but let's read bit by bit. Okay, Isha? So let's start at verse 1 and go down to verse 4 to start. So before we're on our way to Romans, before we get there, stopping in this neighborhood. These things, Messiah said, have I spoken unto you that ye should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doth the Most High Yah service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, ye may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said not unto you at the beginning, because I was with you. So let's stop here. So Messiah is sharing with his disciples. He is sharing with his Hebrew Israelite disciples what they can expect to receive of their bloodline brethren. He said, they're going to put you out of the synagogues. They're going to think it's a good thing, it's an honorable thing to kill you. He said, and they're going to do this because they don't know me or my Father. And that's the bloodline he was talking about. They're going, your brothers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob going to do that to you. Now, if we know that the brothers are going to do that to him, I guess we can expect the same of the Gentiles. Isn't that correct? And in fact, we have also seen that. We have also seen that. So here's an important point. Not only did the Messiah tell us that if we're following the Father, he said, because they don't know the Father, therefore the implication is if we know the Father and we walk in the Spirit of the Father given to us through his grace, Messiah, we do that, then we're going to create some enemies. And yeah, we're going to create some enemies. And especially in religious circles. People following religion is not going to like us. Not if they didn't like him. And he told us beforehand. Then the second implication is, if there's a secret to be known, Messiah is going to let it known to his people. Isn't that right? He said, these things I told you beforehand. He's telling his Israelite disciples this. And that's the book of Revelation. He said he's showing his servants things which must shortly come to pass. He's not showing everybody. See, this is the thing people don't understand that I've been awakened to. he is showing his chosen people for his chosen people to share. That's what he's doing. He's not revealing these things directly to Gentiles. He's revealing these things directly to his chosen people, for his chosen people to reveal it to all of their brothers, but also to the Gentiles. Because he's not telling everybody. He didn't give the 10 Commandments to everybody. He gave it to the chosen people. He didn't give the book of Revelation to everybody. He said to his servants. And here in John, he's talking to who? His disciples. That's who he's talking to. See, many people read these things and they think, well, he's talking to all of us. No, he's not talking to all of y'all. He's talking to his disciples. He's talking to his disciples, and they was Israelites. That's the truth about it. Let's continue. From verse 5 down to verse 7. Gospel of John, chapter 16, from verse 5 to verse 7. But now I go my way to him that sent me. And none of you asking me, whither goest thou? But because I have said these things unto you, your sorrow has filled your heart. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth. It is expedient for you that I go away. For if I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. But if I depart, I will send him unto you. Let's stop right here. Messiah came as a representation of his Father to deliver the children of Israel from their sin, to save his people from their sin, as a representation of his Father, to be a sacrifice. And notice what he said, I go back my way to him that sent me. Messiah didn't just decide to come. Father sent him. Father sent him as his own representation of righteousness in the flesh. Sent him. And he said, I have to go away, because if I don't go away, the Comforter will not come. Why is that? Well, let me ask you all. Let me test you. Let me test you. What is Messiah's position right now? As I'm speaking to you, what is Messiah doing right now? What is he doing? What is his position? What is he doing? Where is he and what is he doing? What is he doing right now? What is his position? Where is he? That's right. He's our high priest. See, brothers and sisters, what does that mean? That means that he is standing before the Father or sitting at the right hand of the Father. And he's representing all of the nation of Israel. He's representing the chosen people to the Father. The Father looks at Messiah and sees a reflection of himself, a perfect, listen carefully now. The Father looks at Messiah and sees in Messiah, his grace, a perfect reflection of himself. A perfect reflection of himself. That's what he sees when he looks at the Father. He sees a perfect reflection of himself. And you know what? There was another time in history he saw that. In fact, the first time he saw that was in Adam. When he created Adam, remember it said Adam was made in the image of the Creator, correct? Right? So he looks at Adam, and before Adam sinned, he can look at Adam and he can see a perfect reflection of himself. That's what he made. That's what he made. And he can look at Adam and say, I made that. That's a perfect reflection of me. But then Adam sinned against him. He sinned against the Creator, and the reflection was gone. And Father said, I'm not taking no shorts. What you become, I'm not taking no shorts. I'm not taking that, what you became. So he sends his son, who is in his own likeness, to pay the penalty for Adam's children. Then he brings back his son as the high priest, who has wounds on his body, representing him taking the punishment for the chosen people. And he sees perfect righteousness in his son. He looks at his son and he sees a perfect reflection of himself. So now, through the Son, his grace, he has to create a people that is in the perfect reflection of himself, because that's all he's accepted. That's why you and I cannot see the Father, because you can't see him and live. He even told Moses, a man that was closer to him than anybody, he said, you can't see my face and live. When he met with Moses, he met face to face, but there was a dark cloud or a dark curtain between him and Moses. And he met Moses face to face. Talked to him. He didn't talk to Moses through any intermediary. He talked straight to Moses. But he had to talk to him through a dark cloud. Moses could not see his face. But the Most High desires to dwell with his people and have them see his face. But in order for that to happen, they have to be recreated in the image that they had before Adam sinned. So now, through the high priest, the Messiah is sending the Spirit of the Father to all those that want to please the Father, so that the day will come. He can step aside from between the Father and us, and he can say, look down there, Father, you see them? And the Father will see, yes, I see a perfect reflection of myself. And that's why the Bible says that at the end, we will shine as the stars. Because when you're in a dark room and you put on a candle, it lights up the whole room, right? You're in a dark room, there's no lighting and it's dark, the power is out, and you put a candle on, it becomes light to the whole room, because that's what it looks like. When the Father's light is on us, in this dark world of sin and lies and deception, it's bright. It looks bright where we are because of the Father's Spirit. So Messiah said, I have to go away so that I can send you my Father's Spirit. I have to go away so I can send you this power from the Father, the Comforter. He said, if I depart from you, I'll send him, because I'm going to be sitting next to the Father. I'll send the Spirit. See? And that Spirit makes us a perfect reflection of the Father. If he puts us to rest, he seals us. When somebody get ready to die and you belong to the Father, he going to seal you in his Spirit, so that now when you're in rest in death, you're in a perfect reflection of himself. He finishes that work. See, the work is on him to finish. That's why we have to just return and rest. That is, we come to him in repentance and we trust him. We trust him. We rest in him. We settle on him. You understand? We settle on him. He said, it's expedient that I go away. If I go not away, the Comforter won't come unto you. But if I go away, I'll send him. I'll send him. It's the Father's Spirit. I have to send it to you. See, that's what he said in the chapter before. He said, when the Comforters come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth who proceeded from the Father, he shall testify of me. Let's look at that. This is John chapter 15. We're going to come right back to 16. But John chapter 15, notice what it says. John chapter 15. Verse 26 and 27, John chapter 15, verse 26, 27. Notice what it says here. But when the Comforter is come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth will proceed from the Father, he shall testify of me. And ye also shall bear witness. See, there it is. That is, just in case y'all don't know that, that's the testimony of Jesus right there. There it is right there. That's the testimony of Jesus. He shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. See, Messiah came to bear witness of his Father's character. That's why he's called the Word made flesh. He came to bear witness of his Father's character. And Messiah sends the Father's Spirit to us so that we, in turn, will bear witness of Messiah and bear witness through Messiah of the Father as well. But it's by conviction. We have to be convicted. You understand? You have to be convicted. Let's go back to 16 now. Okay, talking about the Father's Spirit. Chapter 16, from verse 8 down to verse 12. Actually, from 8 down to verse 13. No, I'm sorry. Let me go from 8 down to 14. From 8 to 14. And when he is come, that is the Father's Spirit, he will reprove the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgments. The word reprove is the word to be convicted, to be persuaded. That's what it means. The Spirit will persuade and convict a person of what is sin, righteousness, and judgment. Of sin, because they believe not on me. Of righteousness, because I go to my Father, and ye see me no more. Of judgment, because the prince of this world is judged. I have yet many things to say unto you, but ye cannot bear them now. I want to stop right here for a minute. See, he don't show you everything at once. That's why it's a path, right? He don't show you everything at the beginning of the path. He wants you to stay on the path, and as time goes by, he can show you. When he first sent me to the SDA church, that's why he sent me. He sent me to the SDA church. And then I kept walking all the way through that church to where I'm at now, right? He might send you somewhere else, but it's a path. It's a path. He might have sent you to the Jehovah Witnesses. Then all of a sudden you left them and come to the truth. He sends us on a path. And he said, there's things I want to show you. I can't tell them to you yet. Not ready yet. And there's more, of course. There's more that I don't even know and that you don't even know. There's things he's going to keep teaching us. We're not ready for it yet. You cannot bear them now. Like I could tell you right now, what one of the things they didn't understand at that moment, they didn't understand that Gentiles were going to be saved. They didn't understand that at that moment. He said, I have many things to say. You cannot bear them now. I could guarantee you, them disciples standing around Messiah that day did not know Gentiles were going to receive this truth of the Hebrew Messiah. They did not know that. They did not understand it was going to be 2,000 more years before the kingdom came. They were looking for Messiah to establish it right then. They didn't know all that. So they said, I have many more things to say, but you cannot bear them now. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. He shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that he speak, he will show you things to come. He shall glorify me, for he shall receive of mine and shall show it unto you. So the Spirit is going to show us the truth because we're convicted by the Spirit. Okay? He's going to show us what the Father wants us to know. Why? Because it is the Father's Spirit. And the Father's Spirit is going to bring glory to his Son, Messiah. Because this earth is going to be his kingdom. So now I think we got the point. We need to be convicted by the Father's Spirit personally ourselves. We need to be guided through his word personally ourselves as we're studying his word. We have to wait for him to convict us and show us the way we should go. Trust him to show you. In other words, when you ask him to show you, don't doubt that he's not going to show. He's going to show you. What you want to really pray about is, Father, let me receive what you're showing me. Let me receive it. Let me receive what you're showing me. Okay? For example, I'll give you an example. I have a sister, a Kath, that I baptized. And she had been in the SDA church, and she also left that church, as I did, to follow the Most High Spirit in his word. But she told me one day, I'm convicted to go to this church, this SDA church. Brother, she said, all I can say, and I said to her, I said, and this is what I say to anybody. I said, sister, I can't say nothing to you. I'm not going to say nothing negative. If you say you're convicted, then you go. And she went in there, and a couple months later, she tells me about this woman she met. I said, yeah, you met a woman? Yeah. And she's interested in the truth. When she said that, I mean, she's interested in understanding who the true Hebrews are. She's interested in understanding who we really are and what the Bible really says and what Messiah really is, who he really is. I said, oh, yeah. She said, her name is Castro. Castro, know who I'm talking about. She said, her name is Castro. I said, oh, really? Yeah. And that's why she was sent to that particular place. Castro know what I'm talking about. To meet her. Then she didn't go there no more. She was just sent there to meet her. And that's what happens when somebody's convicted. You understand? That's what happens when somebody's convicted. And that's why I can't go against my conviction. Nobody should go against their conviction. Nobody. And nobody should argue with somebody that say they're convicted. So now let's go to Romans chapter 14. Romans chapter 14. Okay. Now, again, as we've been reading the prophets and understanding what this is about, we have to also understand what it's not about. Christians will sometimes use this to claim that you can eat anything and you got to go by your convictions as whether you can eat pig or not eat pig or eat blood or not eat blood. But that's not what it's talking about. We're going to read this. Let's look at verse 1. From verse 1 down to verse, let's see. From verse 1 to verse 6. Romans chapter 14, from 1 to 6. Him that is weak in the faith receive ye, but not to doubtful disputations. For one believeth that he may eat all things, another who is weak eateth herbs. Let not him that eateth despise him that eateth not. And let not him which eateth not judge him that eateth, for Yah hath received him. Who art thou that judgest another man's servant? To his own master he standeth or falleth. Yea, he that holdeth up, he shall be holden up, for Yah is able to make him stand. One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regardeth the day regardeth it unto Yahweh, and he that regardeth not the day to Yahweh, he doth not regard it. He that eateth, eateth to Yahweh, for he giveth Yahweh thanks, and he that eateth not to Yahweh, he eateth not, and giveth Yah thanks. Now, let's explain this. At the time, you know that we understand now that there's no such thing as Christianity, but what was going on is you had Gentiles coming into the truth of the Hebrew Messiah, right? So you had Gentiles coming into the truth of the Hebrew Messiah, right? Now, prior to this, as Peter explained in Acts chapter 10, they had made it unlawful for any Hebrew to even go into the house of a Gentile. Because why? Because the Gentiles ate blood. The Gentiles ate pig, right? Matter of fact, the Most High said to the children of Israel, if an animal dieth of itself, you don't eat it. But if it died of itself, you could give it to the stranger and to the heathen. You can give it to them. You don't eat it, though. So there were things that Gentiles were permitted to eat that the Israelite nation would never eat. Therefore, as these Gentiles were coming into the truth, some Hebrews didn't want to eat with them. And you remember what happened with Peter in Galatians. Paul was there in Galatia with the Gentiles. Peter came to visit, and Peter was eating with them with the Gentiles. But then when the Hebrews leaders came from Jerusalem, Peter separated himself from the Gentile because, you see, there was a problem. They weren't sure how to handle this. Should we eat with Gentiles or shouldn't we? Should we trust that they know how to prepare the food? Should we? See, it wasn't about eating pig. It was, did they drain the blood properly? Did they cook? Did they boil the flesh properly? Did they cook it properly? Was this animal killed properly? Did it die of itself? Are they giving us animal? See, so they were taught, the Gentiles were taught the proper ways to do things, but not all the Hebrews trusted that. You understand? So they treated the Gentiles the way Daniel treated Nebuchadnezzar's food. You understand? Daniel said, I don't want to eat that man's food. So please give me pulse. That's why he said, he who is weak eateth herbs. What he's saying is, if the Most High has convicted this Gentile, and this Gentile in the sincerity of his heart has come to the truth, you should not act like what he say with doubtful disputations. In other words, don't fight with yourself or fight with him. If he's come to this truth and he's received this truth, you should receive him. Don't act weak. Don't get offended by what he's making you if he's trying his best to do the right thing. You understand? Testing 1, 2, 3. That's why he also said, I believe it was First Corinthians. I think it was First Corinthians chapter, I want to say it was chapter 15. By the way, that last week, there was that verse I was looking for was actually in Exodus, and I swore it was in Deuteronomy. It was Exodus 23. But anyway, this one was in First Corinthians. It was First Corinthians chapter 10, I think it is, First Corinthians 10, where he said, whatever shoulder in the shambles, eat for conscience sake. He's not telling you to eat anything, but he's saying if a Gentile makes this food and hangs it up for sale and he's a believer, trust it. Trust that is kosher, for lack of a better word, because he's also in the faith. He's not a bloodline from Abraham, but he's trusting the same God you're trusting. Everybody got me? Now, he's not telling them go eat pig, go eat shrimp, go eat crab and lobster, because those are unclean foods. And we know he doesn't change. He's not telling them to do that. But he's saying these people that, he said, he that is weak in the faith receive. Yeah, new people just receive them. They coming in and they're learning these things. No, don't make them feel like they outsiders. Don't make them feel like they strangers if they coming in. Y'all were strangers in the land of Egypt. Isn't that what he told our fathers? You're strangers in the land of Egypt. Receive the stranger. Receive him. Just say you weak. You don't want to eat with the Gentile. You weak. And then the thing about the day, Christians think it's the Sabbath, that, you can keep any day as the Sabbath. I heard some Christians say that. You heard them say that. Any day is the Sabbath. Every day is the Sabbath. No, not every day is the Sabbath. That's not what he's talking about here. What's going on? This is easy. Right now, we're in the United States of America. There are some Hebrews that are convicted that we need to keep all the feasts. Right? There's some Hebrews that are convicted. We need to keep the Passover. We need to keep the Feast of Weeks. We need to keep the Day of Atonement. We need to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And they keep them in their enemy's land. They're convicted. Some of us, like myself, are not convicted that we should do these things because I believe we are in our enemy's land and we're away from the chosen land that the Most High has given to us, so we can't keep these things. But see, so sometimes somebody might be keeping a feast and keeping it a special unto the Most High, and I will not keep it unto the Most High because I'm saying we're in our enemy's land. We can't keep the feast in our enemy's land. But somebody's convicted, we must. You understand? Testing 1, 2, 3. And he said, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. See, in my mind, as I'm reading the scripture, he said, keep it in the place that I shall choose, which is Jerusalem. We're not in Jerusalem. We're not in the promised land. When Messiah comes, we're going to be in the promised land. And we're going to keep all the feasts, praise Yah. But we're in our enemy's land. We're in Babylon right now. They have us enslaved and we're in debt and we got to ask for days off and we got to work and pay bills. We're in our enemy's land. So I can't keep feasts, especially when my brothers are stacked up in prisons and holed up in ghettos. And some brothers don't even know if they're going to live past age 21 because of the violence in their neighborhood. How can I keep a feast in my enemy's land when they treat my brothers like that? That's the way I'm convicted. But now everybody's convicted that way. And some brothers just want to get together and have a feast. And hey, I think that's wonderful. You understand? But I don't think it's necessary in terms of like, it's absolutely we have to, not in our enemy's land. But see, some people esteem with one day above another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be persuaded in his own mind. That's what we're talking about. Got me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Everybody understand that? Okay, praise Yah. I'm going to stop here. Let's have a word of prayer. We'll come back on tomorrow.